we turn on Bridgemaster radar for the first time, it opens in standby mode. To operate the radar, it is necessary to press the transmit button. We can put the radar in expand or S-band mode from the section on the upper left. X-band radar is capable of providing better target resolution by using smaller antenna. X-band radar operates at a wavelength between 2.5 and 4 cm. Thanks to this small wavelength, X-band radar is more sensitive than S-band radar and detects small targets better. In addition, search and rescue transporter is only visible on X-band radar. S-band radar is mostly used in heavy weather conditions. The radio waves produced by S-band radars are not easily attenuated. This gives them greater penetrating power. In addition to S-band radar uses a large antenna and works with a large wavelength, so it can show targets better at high range settings than X-band radar. We can adjust the range from the upper left corner. In the high range setting, the radar scans a larger area, while in the low range setting, on the contrary, it scans a smaller area. Here there is an adjustment scale between 0.125 miles and 96 miles. Also, in this section we can turn on the rings settings. When we turn setting on, circles appear on the screen at varying intervals depending on the size of the current range. This provides convenience to user when determining the distance. We can adjust the pulse from the section on the left side of the screen in there. There are three settings in this section: medium pulse, long pulse and short pulse. Before we talk about this, we should first talk about the definition of signal to noise ratio, SNR. SNR is the standard measure of radar's ability to detect a given target at a given range from the radar. As for the setting part, the shorter pulse has less energy and so a reduced SNR at detection and estimation signals parameters of long-range targets. But at a short distance need at shorter pulse because SNR is enough. Another context, which was considered before, take the account as well. We can turn the heading line on and off from the lower left part in this style. We can adjust the radar's gain, C, rain and tune settings in the lower left corner on the screen. The gain settings makes weak echoes appear strong. The rain setting reduce screen noise due to rain and increases the change of the seeing targets in rainy weather conditions. With the C setting, echoes created by waves that will occur in harsh weather are prevented. In addition, in this section we can adjust the above mentioned settings ourselves or by selecting the automatic option. We can make the radar itself adjust. Enhance video mode, a substantial improvement in the presentation of small and or short range targets, especially when operating at range scales of 3 miles and above, can normally be achieved by selecting the enhanced video mode. This facility is available on range scales 0.75 mil and above. Targets are not enhanced close to own ship. In estuary and open sea conditions, always use the enhanced video mode for best target detection. This will enhance small targets, significantly improving their perceptibility on the display at all ranges, especially on range scales of 3 miles and above. If used on short range scales, it will degrade target discrimination. Motion settings. Radar motion settings are changed from the top right of the screen. There are 3 motion options here: relative motions, relative vector, relative motions true vector, and true motion. In true motion mode, the position of our ship is not fixed, but the length mass is fixed. Our ship and other objects move on the screen with their real speed and course. In relative motion true vector mode, the position of our ship is fixed and the land masses move. According to the speed and course of our ship, other objects move with their relative speed and course. Trajectories, on the other hand, are the predicted actual movement of a target as a result of your own ship's direction and speed input. According to the speed and course of our ship, other objects move with their relative speed and course. Relative trails are the estimated movement of a target relative to their ship as a result of your ship's direction and speed input. In addition to the vector time selected will determine the length of the vectors shown on the radar display. The length of a vector represents the distance the ship target will travel in the vector time. Presentations modes are in there. In head-up mode, the ship's heading marker is always shown vertically upwards, indicating straight ahead movement. In north-up mode, the bearing scale shows 000 degree at the top of the video circle. The ship's heading marker is shown at the appropriate bearing. In course-up mode, on selection of course-up mode, the ship's bearing is shown at the top of the video circle with 000 degree elsewhere on the circle, still representing true north. Heading setting is adjusted from the part in the upper right corner in there. Under normal conditions, radar automatically adjusts the heading information, but when there is any gyro error situation, we may need to adjust the heading value manually. Speed settings are there. Speed can be adjusted from the upper right corner of the screen. In there, radar screen display shows the heading, speed, course and speed over the ground, on ship position and the source. Speed can be entered from a LOG W or LOG G, or manually. Speed over the ground is the speed of the vessel referenced at the surface of the earth. Speed through water is the speed of the vessel referenced to the water in which it is navigating. In general, speed through water is used for radar collision avoidance to provide a more accurate indication of a target aspect, and speed over ground is used for navigation. Trail settings is adjusted by there. This setting is set under the vector time setting. With these settings, selected targets create a trail beyond them as they move. At the same time, the time interval for the formation of trails can be set in the settings menu. Electronic bearing line and variable range marker adjustment is made from the upper right part of the screen. Electronic bearing line and variable range markers measure the distance and bearing between our ship and a target object. On the radar screen, the VRM appears as a circle centered at your ship's current position. Electronic bearing line appears as a line starting from our ship's current position and intersecting the variable range marker. The intersection point is the target of variable range marker and electronic bearing line. I shows you. For example, in this we can adjust this and this. Radar off center I can show you. By pressing and holding the point where our ship is, we can move with the point where we want our ships to be found. In this style. For example, in this. We can press the center button to reposition our ship to center. At the same time, when we right click on the center option, we see the max view option. With this step, our ship is transported to the point where we can provide the most view. Radar plotting. We can pilot the targets by left clicking on the targets. For example, this is examples. Guard zone settings. Guard zone is called the safety area formed around our ship together with the values that are going to be safe. Guard zone setting is located in the AZ section in the lower left corner. Two annular guard zones are available, which are always displayed relative to on-ship's head. Guard zones are active on all ranges in all motions and presentation modes. When a target enters a guard zone, an alarm is raised. I open the guard zone. In order to set the guard zone, it must first to be set on mode. Editing can be started later by pressing the edit button. this shows in screen. Bearing adjustment is made by holding down the left button and dragging this circle. Range adjustment is made by holding and dragging in the inner side of the ring with the left button. Finally, depth of zone is adjusted by dragging the outer side of the ring with the left button. In addition to, we can adjust the size of the zones. Parallel index is used to check that the ship is following its course and not running to starboard or port side. The PI part in there, in the lower left corner, is used for parallel index setting. The line tab is used to create a parallel index. With the range and bearing tabs above, the parallel index is placed in the desired place. The image of the line can be changed with type tab. Parallel index can be removed with the delete tab. For example, range and bearing. We can delete this and this. Rotating cursor is activated from the Tools tab. Rotating cursor is half circle or full circle in this. Rotating cursor can be displayed to provide a means of parallel indexing. The rotating cursors consist of a single white line diameter plus a number of equally spaced lines, which are perpendicular to the single line. The spacing of the perpendicular lines corresponds to the range ring spacing on all ranges. The rotating cursor is always centered and on ship. The marks is activated from the Tools tab. Up to 20 position marks can be defined within the video circle. The marks are available in all motion modes, presentation modes, except then head-up mode, and range scales, and maybe drop it or carry mode. When carried, the marks remain at a fixed range and bearing from on ship. When dropped mode, they remain at a fixed position on the ground or in the water. All marks are cleared automatically if the drop or carry mode is altered or presentation mode is changed between stabilized and unstabilized. We can add the marks in this style. It is shows in this shape. I can delete and I can talk about ARPA section. The ARPA tab contains ARPA data, pass position, target ID, and ICE data options. With the ARPA data option, ARPA information is activated in this. If pass position dots are switched on, dots will be displayed indicating the pass positions for all tracked targets. The interval between the dots is selected by the user. As soon as a target is acquired, the past position data starts to build up. The number of dots displayed, up to maximum 4, is determined by the length of the time target has been tracked and the time interval selected. With the ICE data option, the ICE information of the targets is activated on the radar screen. With the target ID option, the ID information of the target starts to be displayed on the radar screen. Limits and settings. The limits and settings tab has auto drop, vector timeouts, NAEA targets, CPA limits, TCPA limits, BCR limits, and BCT limits options. Their settings are made in this tab. If auto drop mode is switched on, targets which are not a danger to on-chip are automatically dropped without any alarm being raised. If the selected vector mode does not match the current motion mode, the vector data is displayed in orange. If vector timeout has been selected on using the procedure, then the vector mode will revert to the same as the motion mode after 30 seconds. NAME is provided to output data on tracked targets. The output data conforms to the NAME 0183 standard. Data is output on all tracked targets provided that the track table has been selected under initialization. CPA is an estimated position in which the distance between two objects will reach its minimum value. We can adjust there. TCPA, on the other hand, shows how much time is left before the CPA value is realized. The BCR indicates how many miles the target will cross to the ship's bow, and BCT indicates when the targets will cross the bow. We can adjust these limits in there. With the cursor displayed option is the navigation tab. Which information the cursor will show on the radar screen is set. For example, at the same time, the route display option, the route leg is displayed on the radar screen. For example, trail maneuver. The trail tab contains the necessary information for the trail maneuver, final course of on-ship, speed of the maneuver, maneuver delay, vector type, and vector time information are required for the trail maneuver. Vector types are two types, true and relative. We can running, but T-letter is shown in our astern of ships. We can brilliance settings in this section. We can adjust 3 modes, 3 night modes and 1 day mode in there. For example, is night 1 mode, night 2 mode, night 3 mode, and day mode. We can adjust day healing line, electronic billing line, cursor, ARPA, tools, range rings, routes, history tracks, and maps. Brilliance adjust in this section. Finally, I can talk about system tab. The system tab is used to shut down the system.